Sup, bitches, and welcome back to the Sassy Spiritual Bitches podcast.
Oh my God.
What the fuck was that?
That's my favorite part. I always wonder where we're going to go with that. It's a good time.
Yeah. It's fun.
It was fun.
All right. How are you doing?
Me?
Yeah.
Oh, fuck. Way better than I was the last couple times. Things are getting better.
Good.
The clouds are clearing. I'm still it's like I'm walking on a tightrope though. I'm doing good, but the wind could gust up at any time and I could suddenly be sad or angry or frustrated. It's just in perfect balance. But I do feel kind of overwhelmed. Just generally speaking.
Yeah. I started going through a bunch of shit.
Oh, yeah.
And I got overwhelmed and I'm like, let's just give it all away. But I'm like, no, you need to there's memories attached to certain things and you have to say goodbye to those things or, decide if you're ready and blah, blah, blah. And I think that's probably more so than anything else. It's I was going through a lot of childhood stuff.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm like, oh, I remember when I had, when I was sick and I used to hug this teddy bear, shit like that.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just oh, God, I don't want to deal.
Yeah, I hate doing stuff like that.
Yeah.
Because I'm an all or nothing kind of person, so I get started and then I just rampage around.
I'm trying not to be like that because I do. Once I start, I'm like, let's just get it fucking done.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm looking at boxes right now in the corner where we're recording and I'm like, those are next. Dun, dun, dun.
Nice.
I had them out for a couple months because I knew we were going to have this garage sale coming up. So I'm like, oh, yes. You're going to be gone through.
Yeah, it's a big job, but you know what? It feels so good when you're all finished with it.
Yeah.
I know. I'm trying not to do that much right now. Summer's the time to do stuff like this, but I'm just you know what? Unschedule. Take a step back from things. Chill out. But then somehow the universe is testing me and I'm failing at all of them.
Why do you say that all the time?
Well, it's true. I can just see the test coming at me. I'll just slide this one thing into my calendar. I'll just do this really quick. And then I'm why am I doing this to myself?
Because you need to learn, apparently.
I know, but I thought I hit a low, a crash, and I was I'm not going to screw this up again. The only time I start to do better, we were just talking about this. Do you learn better from failure or from winning all the time? And I'm one of those people that just has to fail and hit a low before I'm oh, I get it.
We literally talked about this exact scenario 5 minutes before pressing record.
Yeah, exactly. And here it rose up into the podcast. But yeah, I need to just get it together.
But let's be honest, as humans, we place so much negativity on failing. And it's kind of ridiculous.
Mm-hmm. It's a huge learning point.
It's a good thing to fail. I don't know why we've put such a negative... Well, because to drive fear.
Right. That's true.
It's to drive fear. You don't want to fail, do you? You don't want to end up oh, so-and-so, or you don't want to end up like this, or end up on the street and, fear shoved down your throat.
And it's funny that, it ties in really nicely for what we plan to kind of talk about, but, failure is a label that we put on a certain experience, and we just, associate it, with some things that drive fear. Oh, I didn't measure up. I'm not good enough. Why can't I figure this out? And it creates all these, constraints.
I'm too much. I'm a hot mess express.
Okay, yeah, that's me. But it's what is when I'm reflecting right now, when I fail, it actually is a huge point of me doing better.
Well, yeah.
It's a huge learning curve. Actually thinking of how we can confine or define failure is ridiculous.
How interesting would life be if we just never failed?
That would be so boring.
It'd be so boring. And how would you even know if you were on the right track or not?
Exactly.
That'd be dull as fuck.
Mm-hmm. I know that's come up a few times lately with my sessions too. If you could have it all with the snap of a finger, what would that even mean to you? It'd be nothing. You wouldn't care. You snap your finger, you have $1 million, a house in the mountains, you just oh, neat. And there'd be nothing to strive towards.
Be well, I got that. What else can I get?
Yeah. You're just oh, can I get a $2 million? Oh, maybe I want a bigger house in the mansion. Something to be said about putting a little bit of elbow grease into what you create.
Yeah.
But not too much. You want to put the wrong words out there to the universe.
Exactly. We want ease and flow.
we don't want it instant. We want to learn and integrate the lessons or the healing along the way.
Yeah. But I mean, even if you snapped your fingers and got everything you wanted, unless you've done the healing and, you know, you're happy with yourself, it doesn't matter. You could
100%.
keep getting shit and shit and shit. You won't get anywhere.
Exactly.
All you need is yourself, people.
Mm-hmm.
You just know somebody's like, that's so selfish. Somewhere out there would say to you.
That's so funny that you said that. Someone's spirit guides this morning were like, the only person you need to be thinking about is you in this now moment. And it's like, we hear that all the time. Just be in the present moment. Just, you know, focus on what you want. But like the way that they had said it, you know, like even to our conversation 5 seconds ago before we started recording, like, you know, this person was looking into their past, trying to discover what happened. Who is this? What's going on? Blah, blah, blah. And I mean, that's part of healing. But our spirit guides were like, you're looking for self-inquiry instead of self-creation.
Yeah.
You know things aren't good back there. You're putting the work in, but right now it's not about pointing fingers. It's just like get it together and like move forward and just like focus on yourself in the now moment and who you want to be, not where you've been. And then I'm like, oh, that's fucking advice I need. Like, I mean, but we do have to, you know, they weren't like, oh, don't ever look into the past because it gives you insights about your future. But like, just, yeah, crazy. All you need is yourself.
All you need is yourself.
Yeah.
And, you know, let's be honest, we don't like to hear that.
No.
Because that takes away a lot of core fears. The fear of abandonment, the fear of not being loved, the fear of not being accepted. That all goes away when you accept the fact that really, all you need is you. You have all that you need. You have all the tools. You can give yourself all that love. You can give yourself everything that you need. External validation that you're looking for, you can give that to yourself, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what happens when the fear goes away? We don't know how to deal with that.
Mm-hmm.
So what are we taught? Oh, it's selfish.
Oh, of course.
Isn't that interesting though?
Oh, man. It was one of the hardest things I had to undo, was that it's not selfish to like just totally prioritize yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. It's very interesting.
It is interesting.
So what is our topic today? Why did I say it like that?
We were going to talk about labels. And
labels.
Like, that little tangent we opened with just fits perfectly with how we're going to move into it. I mean, labels in a broader sense, but you know, the meanings that we attach to boxes we place ourselves in, and then the way that I feel it mainly just serves to limit us, to be honest.
Well, yeah, that's just it.
I can't see the positive of any of it.
I was driving to work today, and if you follow our podcast for any length of time, you know that I always have a running dialogue with like spirit guides, like dead people, whoever. They're always just talking to me, right? There's a constant like blah, blah, blah in my head, which is why I like being alone so much, because I'm never alone.
Yeah,
but
really.
Anyway, so we were having a conversation as we were going, and I don't even know what set it off. But basically the deal was we put way too much emphasis on things of like identifying. Identifying is the problem. See, labels are limitations. And there's been a lot of things going around, and I understand them. Oh, this is what set it off. That's right. That's correct. Okay, so there's been a lot of oh my God, not memes. That's not the word I'm looking for. But like, what are they called? Like little inspiration things or whatever.
Like the reels or like...
Yeah, things on Instagram or Facebook or whatever. And it's like, I am conscious. I am giving. Yeah. I am, you know, they're affirmations. That's the word, affirmations. Yeah. They're all these words that are beautiful and inspiring and bring beautiful imagery to the mind and make us feel good about ourselves. But really, who is it serving? That serves our ego. Oh, I'm a good person. That's what that's feeding.
Mm-hmm.
And that was kind of like my little inner dialogue was, well, even if it are, fuck grammar, even if it is these great and beautiful words that we're calling ourselves, we're still identifying as that. We're still, whether it's a good or bad word, it's still limiting.
Mm-hmm.
Like it just, my mind was fucking blown this morning.
Right.
And I'm like, yeah. And I've said this in other podcasts where it's like, take the words away. Because even if you wanted to, we are a spiritual being having a human experience. So even if you wanted to come up with the words for what you truly are, there isn't any.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you say? I am.
Mm-hmm.
Period. Right?
Yeah.
I know a lot of people, and I used to be one of them. That's why I think I'm so sensitive to it, because I'm like, oh, I'm so guilty. Fuck me, you know? But what do we define ourselves as? Where we work.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm a mother, or I don't know, you name it. Put anything in there. If somebody asked you, what are you? Who are you? You would start listing things. Well, I'm kind. I'm a receptionist. I'm a mom of 3. And I'm this and I'm that. I'm a Leo. I'm a this. And they would come up with list after list after list after list, right?
Mm-hmm.
And oh man, I had those lists too, man. But here's the thing. You didn't describe yourself at all.
Exactly.
At all. Like that, is that your true self? No, that's where you work. That is generalized trivia about yourself. But is it actually you? Not a fucking chance.
No. And sometimes, like, as you say this, I'm like, man, I've had an aversion to labels for so long, and I wonder where that stems from. I hate when people pass assumptions about me. Like, when you're saying that, I remember, like, I really haven't eaten meat as long as I was able to choose to do so. Like, I do here or there, but like when I was in university, and I would like refuse to call myself a vegetarian, even though I never ate meat. Because it just has it conjures up all these different traits, because you know what? Everything carries a frequency.
Yeah.
So, and humanity develops it over time. So even just the word vegetarian, you know, I know each and every one of you is conjuring up what you think a vegetarian might look like.
Yeah.
You know,
and a feeling behind it.
And a feeling behind it. Yeah. And like, I'm pretty sure that I don't give off the vibe that you're thinking. And I just, like, I do eat meat here or there, but like, you know what I mean? And it makes people then start to hold you accountable to that. So anytime you're like, someone orders pizza and you're like, you know what? I'm just going to have some. People are like, oh, you went against your moral code.
You had a burger?
Exactly.
I thought you were a vegetarian.
I know. And
did that just go out the window? Like, who cares? It doesn't matter if you were or not.
It's so limiting. And I mean, I one time took a gender and media studies course. So it was gender and media.
Right.
So I get why labels were like important in that course, because we were talking about media, which uses communication and language. But I was in a university level course, you guys. And I was just like, what the fuck? We were like labeling different categories of people in the LGBTQ community. And I'm like, can they just tell me who they are? Why do I have to just look at them and be like, oh, like
this is the box you go in?
Yes.
No.
And some people like that. You know, so I met people in that course that were like, no, I want to be known as this. It makes me feel seen and heard. And I was like, that's perfect. But can you just tell me that as an individual? I don't want to just look at you and assume that you belong in this type of box. I remember just being like choked that whole course. And I mean, maybe it was like inappropriate, but I was like, can we not label people? Because then you get confined.
But I mean, why do you want to be seen and heard by one thing?
I don't know.
That's where my mind goes. I'm like, I don't want to be known as a podcaster. I don't want to be known as whatever.
Yeah, you
know?
really have struggled to like even name yourself, like your business
Oh my God.
or what you do.
Mm-hmm. I still, and it's part of the reason why I have such an aversion to social media. I don't like people putting me in boxes. In fact, when I was young, I would dress a certain way. And my parents were freaked right the fuck out, right? Like cop's kid going around, kind of like drew my lips in with blue eyeliner and, you know, different colored hair, black nails.
I was always trying to push the envelope. Yeah.
Like, but people expect a certain thing from that. And then I would be the most polite kid, open it up, please and thank you, blah, blah, blah. And I would confuse the fuck out of people. And I love that.
Me too. I love confusing people.
You couldn't peg me because I can't be put in a box.
Exactly.
Because I am a soul just doing my thing. Why do I need to be in a box?
Exactly. And you know what? I always say to you, I love being anonymous. I love when people don't know me, and I think it's because they can't categorize you. They'll look at you and think one thing, and then you're just like, ta-da, no, I'm over here. I love that.
Yeah. People used to tell me all the time, God, you look different every time I see you. Well, yeah, because that was my mood that day.
Yeah. And obviously, I feel like Randy and I both must have some past life trauma where we were like stripped of our sovereignty because we are very protective of our individuality.
Well, I mean,
I am.
If you're going to categorize yourself by something, how about you categorize yourself by who you truly are?
Yeah.
But not the masks that you wear.
Oh, for sure.
That's the problem, right? Oh, I'm at work. Here comes this mask. Oh, Miss Professional. I can't swear. I can't do all of these things because that's not acceptable.
Yeah.
So I'm going to put on this voice and I'm going to talk very professional at my job.
Or even the difference between professional emails and then personal emails. Like, I think if any of you ever email me, it's pretty just straight away now. But back in the day when I had my little government job, I would be like, who it may concern, blah, and it'd be very wordy. And it's like, now I'm just like, fuck that. What a waste of time to like try to make yourself sound like something that you're not. I don't talk like that in real life. I have the mouth of a sailor. Like,
fucking right.
Exactly.
If you ever get an email from me, it always says, cheers, Randy.
And I did that. Sign off.
I did that at the police station. I gave no fucks. You know?
Good for you.
Yeah. And that's why I have such a problem with dress codes too.
I was going to say that. I cannot.
But yet, here's how fucking convoluted my mind is. I have an issue with dress codes, but yet I loved wearing a uniform to school every day.
Wow. I hate uniforms.
Do you know why I love doing it?
We found a way to make it rebellious.
Well, you had no choice but to find a way to let your personality come through.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I hate dress codes in the fact that it has to be business casual.
Right.
Like, what the fuck does that mean? Everyone has a different idea. First of all, people come in yoga pants and you're like, I wouldn't call that business casual, but whatever. You know, there's those issues. And then you have all the drama behind, oh, did you see what she was wearing today? Oh my God, blah, blah, blah. Like, fuck right off. I don't have time for it. But yet, I like uniforms because you can't put anyone in a box, can you?
Mm-hmm.
Everyone's the fucking carbon copy same. So good luck then.
Mm-hmm.
So then you got to find your way.
That's true. But I also hate uniforms. So I used to work, I spent 2 years in Colorado and I worked for the city at this fire department and I was doing like prevention and education for like fire and emergency safety. So they loved me so much. They were willing to like fill out my paperwork. It didn't work out in the end anyway, but I was like, it would have been this cushy government job in Colorado, which is a place that I love. And they were willing to do this for me, but I would have had to wear a uniform and I couldn't wear my nose rings to work. And I remember being like, oh, this is like a fucking deal break for me. Like the paperwork didn't work out anyway, but I was like, And there I had to take my nose rings out, but I got to dress business casual, which I still hated, but I fucking hate uniforms.
I hate business casual more than anything in the world.
Yeah.
I find it so uncomfortable.
And then you know what's crazy? And then it's like, again, those labels that you've conjured up of what business casual looks like. And then anytime I obviously wanted to deviate as best or stay as true to myself as best I could in any of those standards. But then you almost feel guilty about the little flares. Like I would be like, you know, if I had a tattoo, or sometimes I would just wear my nose rings anyway. And then everyone would just be like, and you felt like guilty for like being yourself because people just like self-police, right?
Oh, I never did.
Oh man.
I never fucking did. But, you know,
Yeah.
I took it as a challenge more so than anything else.
Totally. I could see that.
I was like, oh, all right. Well, here I am in my plaid skirt and my, you know, knee-high socks. Yeah, like I had to wear a kilt, you guys. It was a plaid kilt, knee-high socks, dress shirt, vest, cardigan. I was like, tie. Had to wear a tie.
Oh my God.
And I was like, all right, blue hair it is. Like, that's kind of how it went. Oh, black nail polish. What you gonna do about it? It's not in your code. Suck it.
Oh
you know?
God, that's so funny.
Well, one of my best friend, she used to wear necklaces, layered necklaces all the time that showed her personality.
Nice.
Or we would put buttons on our ties. Like, you know, those enamel buttons or like those round ones that you pin. Yeah, it was like a challenge to find who you really were.
That's kind of fun. That's a good challenge. I didn't have to wear uniform in school. I was talking about like work world, which I guess
I did it through jewelry.
Yeah.
When I worked at the police station, when I wore like in Saskatoon, didn't last there long. Had a breakdown, but still I did it through jewelry. Because they did have rules about hair and stuff there.
Oh, junk. I know the fire department, you had to wear your hair in a ponytail, no piercings except for just like one little like whatever, but no dangly earrings. I don't think you could even wear. And it was like a police uniform. Like, yeah. I was just like, oh,
the cargo pants and the tucked in shirt. And you know what? Everyone's like, that's so uncomfortable. I'm like, I don't care. I find them comfortable. I like cargo pants. I can put shit in them. It's very handy. I can just sit with my hands in my cargo pocket because I have long arms. Like, it was fucking awesome.
Oh my God.
Good
times.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. I think other people look great in uniforms.
Isn't that a thing?
Oh, yeah. I don't know. It's like depends, I guess.
I think it depends on the person.
Yeah, it depends on the person. But I kind of like that authority.
Like, oh, yeah. But then again, that's their personality showing through.
That's true.
Right? You could put the same uniform on 6 different people. Everyone's going to look different.
Totally. But I just want to look at you. Come close to me and try to tell me what to do. I will
fuck you up.
Fuck you up. I can't. My challenge, my like shit with authority right now is like next level. I've always had trouble with it, but it's real bad right now. I'm just looking for someone to try to tell me what to do.
See, I was always like a rule follower to the fucking T, right? Like, you don't break the rules. You don't do that. Right? And now I'm like, tell me I can't.
Yeah.
Fuck right off.
I got things to say.
I'm like, you don't know me?
Exactly.
I will fuck you up.
Yeah. Like, try to tell a sovereign soul, spirit, what to do. I know my rights as a soul. You better fuck out of here.
I dare you.
Yeah.
Come at me, bro. You know, like
exactly.
That's so where I'm at right now.
I am looking for a brawl.
And it's not at all like it's clearly who I am at the core, but it's just not at all. This is a new thing that's come up, but I'm like, fuck you, bitches, you know?
Yes. I've always had a problem with authority, but I never would have really, it's not even that I wouldn't have acted on it. I still would have rebelled, but I wouldn't have been confrontational about it. I just would have what my thing was is I just wouldn't answer people. They try to tell me what to do and I wouldn't look them in the eye and I would just walk away. And it made people so mad. So mad. It's not my favorite thing to do when an arrogant
snub their ego, you bitch.
Yeah, when an arrogant prick comes around, I still do that. I'm just like, what?
I just stare at them and they're like kind of give them, well, actually no. Depends who it is. If it's like an actual authority figure where I had to do something, I just took it and then rolled my eyes after and did whatever I felt like it. But usually, got away with enough that I followed and, I'm like, okay, I can see where this is coming from. I'll do that. I'm not going to do that, but I'll do up to this point. But if there was somebody like, if I didn't know them, that's a whole different story.
Oh yeah.
Like when I was younger and somebody, I don't know, where was I? I don't remember, but I was in my 20s, I think, early 20s, maybe. Anyway, and this was so out of character for me. I can't you know, because normally I just kind of like take it and then roll my eyes and walk away like fucking loser, douchebag, whatever. But I can't remember what they were on about. And they finished talking and I just went, are you finished? Ooh, and then it was on.
Oh, man,
and I was just, I was like, whoops, that was a mistake. Like, shouldn't have let my mouth run because I'm like, now I'm fucking stuck with another tirade. But I was like,
right. It really does depend how people come at you. When I was back to my customer service days, I would just like, depending on what they were doing, I would just give a flat expression, like I couldn't understand what they're saying, and I would just walk away. And I'd never do what they said, and it made people so mad.
yeah.
But you didn't really say anything, so you're not going to get in trouble with your management. I just
looked bored because I was.
Yeah, and then now I haven't had any run-ins with. I almost got that ticket, but the cops they caught me off guard, so I was actually just like making a joke about it. That was a good time because they were funny too. But if I haven't had to run in with the law anytime recently, other than that. But
yeah, like I'm a
pretty
rule
chill
follower, but I'm just like
you're still pretty chill.
Yeah,
it depends on how the authority figure comes at you.
That's
right?
100% true. Keith told me about a run-in he had with one of my old officers, and he didn't know which one it was. And he's kind of telling me how it all went down. I'm like, oh, I know exactly who that is.
Oh, fuck.
And he phoned and was like, yeah, just so you know, like, I don't want to make a formal complaint, but I found this was a little, probably not the best. You might want to speak to him. And he just, described what he looked like and all the things. And the sergeant he called, he's like, oh yeah, that's so-and-so. I'll talk to him. Do you want me to call you back? It's like, nah, that's good enough. And he hung up the phone. He's like, you were so right.
Oh, God. So good. It's funny that you know everybody.
Well, I don't know. There's a lot of new ones out there. Right. I don't know.
That's true.
But I don't know. Maybe because again, I've never had that fear of police.
Right.
I mean, I had a respect.
Right, because your dad was an officer. Right?
Yeah. Okay. I mean, I had a healthy respect, which is gone, which I don't agree with.
Right.
But if they're being assholes, we're not afraid to call them out. Because I told Keith, I said, you phone.
Right.
Like, that's not acceptable.
Yeah. And even when I'm talking, like, the kind of authority figures I run into is, like, like, not even police officers. Every time I've ever met one, they've been fairly nice. But, like authority figures, like principals. And, like, who else?
I got away with so much shit. I never had any issues with any adults.
Nice.
Adults loved me.
Mm.
Like, I had a teacher who everyone said was mean. And he and I would sit and like throw insults back and forth at each other as a joke.
Nice.
And then he'd look me up and down and be like, those are the wrong shoes. I should give you a demerit. And I'm like, okay. And he's like, don't wear them again. Like, come on. And,
Oh my God,
like
good.
I don't know what it is, but great with adults.
Nice. Like,
I was just really, really, they loved me. My principal loved me. The only teacher I ever had who did not like me that I knew of was my gym teacher in junior high school.
Why? Just
because I looked athletic and I should have been athletic and I could give two fucks about sports and I made it known.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah, it was... Yeah, but then she saw that I was not too bad at basketball, and then she sucked up to me to go on the team. And then she went on a trip with my mom. Like, they went on, like, there was a grade 9 trip or whatever.
Oh,
my sister went, and my mom was chaperoning, and then she got to know her. So it wasn't so bad after that, but yeah, they had their, again, you look a certain way, you're supposed to be a certain way.
Yep.
And then when I didn't meet that expectation, then there was a problem.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? As you can tell, probably, I pushed a lot of boundaries.
Oh, fuck, same.
So this is kind of an off topic, like completely fucking sidetrack here, but I'm thinking of it. Like, what do you know about the Sirius portal? Is that what it's called? The Sirius portal?
Yeah. And I don't know anything about it.
Yeah, I don't know anything about it either.
All I read was it's like a particular alignment, I think, is with like the Sirius stars, and it's sending through like light codes and upgrades and stuff. But I don't feel light and fluffy or pumped up. I just feel like the same. But you said technology was being weird.
Well, I mean, but take
Actually,
that
yeah.
with a fucking grain of salt, because technology's fucked for me regardless.
Yeah,
so
that's true.
But I mean, if light codes are coming in and I've received them, I did notice, like after the conjunction, after a super moon, there's been several times where it's like when it was like known light codes came in, that technology fucked up worse for me.
Yeah.
So,
That
I mean,
makes sense.
it could be. It could be, or it could just be me being all fuckered up.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know much
I don't
else
either.
about it, to be honest.
I'm kind of curious, though.
Let's see.
This is an example of us diving into labels to see what it says and then decide if we're going to buy into it or not.
Hey, exactly.
Because ultimately, it doesn't matter what's going on. You're still you.
Exactly.
Right, kids? Right. Kind of reminds me of the Zodiac, though.
Yes. Totally. And something I think if you are like an astrologer, people, I think, know this. But when people say, I am an Aries or I am this, if you actually know anything about astrology, you're way more complicated than that one or two couple of signs. And then, believe it or not, in your past life, it's highly unlikely that you were still an Aries.
Yeah.
And it's confining.
It is. I like knowing the traits of the different signs because, I definitely have some of them. But I do not. Here's the thing. Everyone's like, oh, yeah, I'm a whatever. I do not. I mean, I guess when I was younger, I could see it. But now that I'm older and gone through a lot, I don't feel connected to my sun sign at fucking all.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm a Leo. I do not feel Leo energy. Leos want to be seen. They want to, pay attention to me, be the center of attention. And it's so funny because people say that about me all the time. Oh, she likes being the center of attention. I'm going to tell you a little secret, folks. I fucking hate it.
Mm-hmm.
I'll do it, but I don't fucking like it.
I feel that I think when you said that, it reminds me, I feel like maybe like you're not necessarily Leo essence, but this is something you have to like figure out. So like, let's just make her born right in the smack dab of Leo.
Yeah, like when I was younger, when my ego was running the show, I could see it, but like, no, I'm just going to go be my little Aquarius moon over here and, do what I want to do and, tell me why I shouldn't be how I want to be.
Oh, yeah.
Like that's
the rebel.
That's where I'm at. I feel like if we're going for what do you identify with, well, I'd have to say that more so than anything else. But even that is like, no, doesn't really get it all.
No. And mine was like, I feel mine's backwards. When I was a kid, like I was an Aries and that's all I really know about. And I'd be like, I'm not like that. I'm not fiery and angry and zesty. And then now I'm like, bitch, who are you kidding?
No kidding. You just kept telling yourself that you were too much and you hit it. That's not the same thing.
Yes, I hit it and not the same thing. I resonate with a lot more now, but I don't feel as intense as I manifest because I'm a Virgo moon and we're critical and kind of intense. And then I'm a Capricorn rising. So I almost want to say Capricorn is like the most like, I don't want to say intense. We're not as like dark and ominous as like the Scorpios are, but like we're really like.
I just feel it very practical.
Yeah. And like structured. And there's like no room for like error. You're just like, nope, that's how it is.
Mess with the ram, you get the horn. Oh no, that's Aries.
Yeah, well, still me.
Mess with the goat, you get the horn.
Yeah, I'm a ram, a goat, and then what's the Virgo? The Virgin, I guess.
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
You think your shit don't stink, don't you?
I am a bit much.
Just kidding.
So I feel like those critical qualities go right back to me. I'm critical of others, but I'm just as critical of myself.
Yeah. But I mean, what's the point though?
Yeah.
Labeling ties into the criticizing of yourself.
Exactly. Is that ever true?
Right? Because you're like, well, I should be like this because of this, and I'm not, therefore I'm going to tear myself down about it.
For sure.
Well, why?
For sure.
What is the actual fucking point? The more we label, the more we divide.
Mm-hmm.
It's just segregation of a different form. It's doing it ourselves.
And like when we think of labels in that way, you see how there's so many labels to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Divide and conquer, and then give people a unreasonable standard of perfection. I have to fit into this box, and if I don't, there's something wrong with me.
Yeah.
So not only do we then cross compare like with each other, like, oh, other Aries or other mothers or other this, do this, that, and the other, but then we like police ourselves not to fit into that, and like we keep ourselves down.
Yeah.
And it's just like, oh, that I still just get so peeved about that course that I took. And I remember like trying to just articulate my point, and they're like, well, that's ignoring, I forget what they said to me. I remember said, I was like, people should just be able to like define themselves.
I know. And I've had this argument with people because, and then there's the Myers-Briggs tests where I'm a INFJ. No, that's what my husband is. What am I? I'm a, see, I don't even know. That's how bad it is.
I don't know mine
either. INSJ, I think I am. And it's like, well, who even cares?
Exactly.
And I had a talk with a friend of mine once, who is really self-identified with her Myers-Briggs. And I was like, but why though? And she's like, I just like learning more about myself. And I was like, why do you need that to learn about yourself?
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And it's like, it shouldn't be about, okay, learning about yourself, I guess I understand if it's for curiosity's sake, but then like towing that line is a whole nother thing, because with the Myers-Briggs, like it's very much about how you learn and how you're going to perform and work and how you show up in the world. Like, then you follow that expectation of this is what I need to be focused on. Like, I'm sorry, but you should be able to learn, be, do, act however you want at any given time.
And you know what? In one situation, maybe, I'm a hands-on learner.
Yeah.
And in the next, you know what? Just give me a book. Just give me a book. I'll figure it out. But if you're stuck to, no, I am a hands-on learner. Take the books away. Well, how do you even know? That just limits yourself.
As time goes on, I just realize like all the systems in place that are just inherently created to keep people in a clusterfuck all the time.
Well, it keeps us separate all the time.
Yeah.
But
then battling ourselves
But
internally.
I was going to say, like, you're separated from everybody else, but you're also separated within yourself.
Oh, yeah.
So how the fuck does that work?
Yeah.
Like, if the goal is to be whole, well, you're just boxing yourself into little boxes, and you're nothing but little pieces of yourself, and you're not ever allowed to push them together because the boxes don't go together. So how the fuck can you ever expect to do any sort of healing, figuring it out, because you have been fed and fed and fed. You need to look like this. You need to do this. You need this kind of job. You need this much money. If you don't have an Instagram photo in Tulum on the beach, who even are you? But really.
It's so true. And then think about the dialogues that you guys have in your brain. Like, as I'm thinking about this, I'm like, the only thing that happens in my brain that causes me stress is when the boxes don't align, or when how I feel doesn't go with the box that I've been given or the task I'm supposed to be focusing on. Like, even I constantly am just like, oh, I should be working. Oh, I should be doing this. And it's like, who the fuck said that you had to just grind it out Monday to Friday, 9 to 5, hope for the best? It's like, yeah, all I do in there, all I do is just fight in there with whatever beliefs I have. Oh, I should write this in my blog today. Oh, I should be this. This is what people would expect. And it's like, what the fuck?
Yeah, I threw away. I am so inconsistent on my social media now because I was so angry about it. Yeah. Because it was like, if you want to grow, you have to, do a post every day, sometimes twice a day. This is what you should be posting. This is this is that. And I'm like, fuck, this is so fake. And I just got angry. I will post when I feel like I have something to post. And that is it, folks.
Exactly.
It's so forced. And I was like, why am I doing this? And I caught myself. This was an exact moment. Because here is the power of story, people. You keep yourself in whatever story you want. Because I told myself my business wouldn't succeed. I wouldn't get any followers. I'm not going to get anywhere unless I kept posting on a regular schedule, and I, had to post at certain times, or I had to have certain hashtags, because how else do you do it? And it was like, who cares how you do it? You just do it.
Exactly. I used to do the same thing. Like when I first launched my social media, I was like, oh, I got to post every day and got to think of like, captivating things to say. And now I'm like, I found people were just like, I don't want to say bored, but like I was just like flooding their news feed, and it was like, oh, here's another thing. And now I just like, post when I feel inspired, when I actually have something to say. And then it's like that distance between the last post I made and the current post. People are like, oh, I wonder what she's up to now. So yeah, like, God, authenticity is everything.
Mm-hmm.
And like we talk about that in a million podcast episodes, but like just stop with the labels and stop with the categorization. And
well, how are you even supposed to begin to find your authentic side if you keep labeling yourself out of who you actually are?
Exactly.
Right? We label to death. Every time you fill out a form, there's a new box to check off.
Exactly.
And it's like, I don't care. You know what? This is so bad. But I'm almost like, I don't even want to say I'm Canadian.
Yeah, me neither.
Like, I'm just like, it doesn't matter.
Exactly. I love, and I even love, like, how bathrooms now in bigger centers, it's just like, whatever. We don't care. We don't care. It doesn't matter. It doesn't fucking matter. If it's a solo bathroom, who the fuck cares?
Yeah, exactly. I never understood solo bathrooms and why they had either male or female on it.
I still don't. Even when I was
I'm like,
child,
it's one stall. Who cares?
There'd be like the wide open men's bathroom because it has a little stick figure man on it, and like 3 women lined up for the solo bathroom. And I was always like, what are you fucking
I used to go in the men's room all the time.
Oh, same.
Yeah. I'm like, I gotta pee.
I even used to do at concerts. I remember going to like, I think it was at Ed Sheeran once. I was like, the women's line is real long. The men's line is just ticking along. And I was like, I don't think anyone will care.
Yeah.
And no one said anything. Except one guy asking. He's like, as I was leaving, he's like, can you even read? Just one of those people I just ignored.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, bye. The other 50 people in this room didn't give a shit. Like,
yeah.
Labels, junk. But you know what? Like, there's something to be said. If you feel like you're someone who's unseen and unheard and you want to come forward and put your, like, just introduce yourself with that. Like, and I think there's lots of that going on with, like, the he and him and she and her and they and their, like, they and them. Like, that's awesome. I'm glad that if that's something that's, like, important to people, that they're just putting it forth right away.
I hate labeling myself like that.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it's bad. I know, like, I'm just like, I'll just wait till somebody tells me. I don't want to assume.
Yeah.
I used to dress like a dude all the time. I got called he all the time. I was never once offended in my life.
Yeah, totally.
And I was just like, why is this a thing? And why have we made it such a thing?
I know. I wish we just didn't have gendered.
That's what I mean. I don't like. It's dumb.
Yeah, it's just stupid.
It's what is it, you guys? It's just another fucking label. Just be you.
Exactly.
But I find people put on labels, and I think this is the problem I have the most with it. There's certain people who wear things like a badge,
mm-hmm.
and I'm like, this is where the problem lies.
Mm-hmm.
Right? This is why things become so solidified, I think.
Yeah.
And it's like, why can't everything just be whatever?
I would love that. And then we wouldn't, if everything was just whatever and we didn't have boxes to check and all these things, nobody, like, with labels, we've constructed our brain to categorize. And people always say human naturally categorize things. No, we've been conditioned and ingrained. We have to categorize everything. And then it doesn't matter how many fucking categories or boxes there are, someone is always going to be left out. And it's like, just stop with the boxes altogether and just look at people for what they are and what their experience is. And let them fill in the blanks. Like, even, it's not the same, but like when I used to be a server, you were supposed to like, hey, my name's Kayla and I'm going to take care of you this afternoon. I never told anyone my name. That's like for me to know and you never to know. Like, if I feel like I want to share that part of myself with you, I will. Yeah. But like, it's just like, what the fuck does it matter?
Yeah.
It's just a way to sort people and leave people out and divide us. And it's just not helping anyone now, is it?
Like, ultimately, you're just energy anyway.
Yes.
Like, it's like, is there just a box for organic matter? Because it's all it is.
Totally.
You know?
I feel the same way.
Personality traits doesn't really fucking matter.
And sometimes I wonder, even like personality traits, I know there's like a few core fundamental parts of me that are like real traits, but I would argue to say there are equally, if not more of them, that are just trauma manifesting or fear manifesting.
Or masks that you put on because
Yes.
you want to fit in to all the boxes that shouldn't exist.
Exactly.
Right? Like, honestly, or like, I just think of that. This unveiling your masks is a big part of what I do with a lot of my clients. Because I'm like, okay, so why are you doing it though?
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, what? And I was like, why are you like that? You know, and it's such a simple question,
Mm-hmm.
but it stumps people.
Oh, fuck yeah.
And it's like, why should that stump you? Why are you taking on that trait? You know, why do you feel the need to identify so strongly as this in this particular situation? There's a reason for it. So what is it?
It's so crazy. And like when you say that, it like makes me think of all the things that I do. And it's always like, yeah, like not being loved or being rejected or being abandoned or whatever the fuck. And then I'm like, man, once you again remove yourself from the human experience and just think of yourself as like the soul or the energy, like you are never alone.
Ever.
There is a colossal amount of people constantly with you. Like you have
we're all the same.
Yeah.
Like we're literally everything that is around you, look at it, feel it, know it. You're all the same thing.
Exactly. Or like thinking of your spirit guides, or like now, because I just talked about it on my story this morning, but I become so much more energetically sensitive that I'm just like a really hardcore introvert now. And I don't necessarily want to say that I've always been that way.
I was.
But I was always introverted, but I liked, and I still do like to be around people, but I think that's just a memory now because I try to do things and I'm like, oh fuck, I hate this. Like my dog is my best bud. Like I want to hang out with her because she's just a gentle energy. The plants in my house, I feel like they're alive, you know, like even like the crystals and stones, like.
Oh, for sure they are.
And I was having this little like breakthrough the other day and I was like, fuck, like everything I do is because I just am so afraid to get hurt or like be left at the end, like alone at the end of it all. I'm like, what the fuck am I talking about? I had 4 hours in the car. I was driving home from Regina and I talked to my spirit guides the whole time. And at no point was like, oh, I'm alone. And it's just like, why do you even give a shit what other people who are covered in masks, covered in trauma, covered in things that they're not even trying to deal with think of you?
They're all putting themselves in their own boxes anyway. They're too distracted to give a fuck about your boxes.
Exactly. And like I think about sometimes it's like my mom is a big one for me. Like I feel like I can't be myself around her. She just like can't process what I am. So
it's her problem.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm constantly like tweaking how our encounters go to accommodate her. And it's like, what the fuck? Why?
But
she's not even processing that.
It's so exhausting. Aren't you tired?
It is. I am tired. So what I do, I just avoid. Just like avoid her. Like,
or you could just, not do the mask thing, hang out with her, and then it's up to her to deal with it.
Exactly.
Think about that. If everyone just fucking stripped themselves of masks, labels, whatever, then what? There would be no division.
No division.
There would be no division. Then what do you do?
And you would just, that I am again. Like
I am, period.
The relationship with my mother and I. It would be insanely peaceful because there would be no place for me to feel inadequate or her to feel nervous about who I am. I think she's told me this. She's fundamentally worried that I will say something to the wrong group of people and like be institutionalized or something. Like she said those to me. She's like, don't say that to people. So I know she's just, but she wouldn't have that belief set, right? And I wouldn't have to worry, and it would just be love. It would just be love. Think about that. If you just looked at people for all they were, and you had absolutely no categorization to compare them off of, you would just see them for all that they are, and you wouldn't have a judgment to pass on them.
No.
Be like, I just think you're sweet. You're deadly.
You would judge their energy. That's an awesome, awesome soul right there.
Yeah.
In fact, I've started to, in my mind, again, the power of your own story, people. It's real. It's real. I had a client this morning, and I love all my clients, but she was just, I was giving her an Indian head massage and, a champ massage, and I'm, massaging her head, and I'm just like, this is the best energy.
Mm.
And I was like, this is a great soul.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just how I referred to her. Like,
Mm-hmm.
it wasn't a her, it wasn't a this, it was like, this is a beautiful soul.
Yes, I love that.
And I was like, I love this energy.
But I'm curious, this is an actual question. There are some souls, most people, I really am just like, I love this energy. Or like a lot of people, that's how I feel about them. And then every once in a while, I'm just like, what the fuck was that? Like, I'll be like,
straight up nails on a chalkboard?
Kind of, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But my question is it their soul that feels like nails on a chalkboard, or all of their masks and ego things and like trauma that's manifesting in a certain way? Or are there actually souls that I wouldn't like if they were like in their purest manifestation?
I don't think so. Like, because you're all resonating from the same place of love.
Yeah.
But I think it's just a damaged soul that's wearing a lot.
That's what I think. Because I think if I ever meet anybody that I'm like, fuck, that was exhausting, it was like ego trap central. Like the person just was resisting and not listening and like being negative. And, oh God, those people. Yeah. I was just like, and I don't meet a lot of them in my practice, but when I do, I'm just like, I hope I never see you again. And then it's like, but it's never the soul. It's everything else they're wearing. Mm-hmm. Imagine if we just stopped wearing shit.
Well, exactly. It's what they're holding on to. Because it's what you're fed to accept. Do you realize how accepted hate is? Everyone's like, get rid of hate, get rid of this, get rid of that. And I'm like, you don't actually believe it though.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's not. If that was the goal, we would drop all labels. We would drop everything mm-hmm. and just resonate from a place of love. But that's hard.
Because people go about it in a ass backwards way.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so let's just take that one sentence. You just resonate from a place of love.
Mm-hmm.
It's really hard to know even what walls you have to pull down. So people are like, I can't fucking do it. Let's just go back to the labels and judgment. But if you start with realizing where your hate or that intolerance comes from and take the oxygen out of that fire, you naturally flip to love. It's not something you have to try to do. It just happens because you've pulled down the walls of judgment and labels.
And you do that by stripping your fear. And we said that at the beginning of the podcast, I think. Imagine if you took away the fear of not being loved, not being accepted, of not being this, of not being that. You took away that fear. You'd have no choice. There'd be nothing left.
Mm-hmm.
So if you strip the world of fear, what's the opposite of fear? It's just love.
Mm-hmm. It is. And people
keep ourselves in boxes out of fear of what? It means nothing.
And it's crazy. It's like people always think love and hate.
No.
Hate is synonymous with fear.
Yes.
It's love and fear.
Exactly.
That are the opposite.
Yes.
Wow. That is so cool.
Right?
And you know what? Oh, there's just so many freaking labels. And like, this is just making me look at my world in a different light. Like, I mean, I'm already kind of like, I'm working on it, but I'm just thinking like of all the labels that I maybe do subscribe to that would totally change. And like, I'm a very like passionate person. I would just love on everybody. Like, you know what I mean? I'm like trying to think if you just pulled out everything and like looked at people for their spirits. Fuck, that'd be hard to contain.
Think about it. That's literally all you saw.
Yeah.
But like, why? Why don't we?
Yeah, man, we got to work on that.
We, like, in my opinion, okay, we're going to get a little woo-woo here. To me, 5D is not a separate entity. It's this right now, stripped of the old consciousness and swooping in of we're just resonating from love. That's it.
Exactly.
That's 5D. Nothing else changes. But everything would change.
Yeah.
Do you think you would murder people?
Mm-mm.
Do you think you would be, rude to people? Would there be child abuse? Would there be elder abuse? Would there be any kind of abuse at all? No.
Or I even just think of the things that fundamentally people are struggling with day to day. It's even in your relationships. Let's be honest. They're one of the hardest things you'll ever do because you've put these categories and boxes on them and expectations on them.
Expectations.
Yeah. And then, you know, you're expected to go to work and do all these things, but you don't love it. You don't do this. And imagine if everything was operating from pure love, I really don't believe that there would even be boxes like that. It'd be so expansive.
Well,
be
boxes
so generous.
Boxes keeps us small. Like when I think of resonating from love, like you can't even, it just keeps going and going and going and getting bigger and bigger and bigger. You can't fit that in a box.
No. And love is, and we've talked about this before, love isn't necessary. Love is strong. Love is powerful. Sometimes I feel like people get like, well, just love everyone. And they become like pushovers and do all this stuff. And it's like, no, because you love yourself just as much as you love everyone else. So there's no compromise. Does that make sense? Like, you know, I'm just like imagining a world that was pure love. And I'm like seeing like hippies floating around and just like no boundaries. But
no, that's not true though.
It's not like that. So I'm just saying that because I'm sure there's people out there imagining
Oh,
it.
absolutely. And but I mean, think about dogs.
Yes.
Dogs love routine. Tough love. Mm-hmm. There's a reason there's the word love in there. Tough love, that you're not going to allow them to, you're not going to enable bad behavior.
Yeah. And you're not going to like self-sacrifice. If you love everything unconditionally and everything that it is, you'd never sacrifice yourself in love of someone else, right? It's just very like expansive and even.
And there would be no need for it.
Exactly.
Right? So, I'm sorry if you can hear that. Oh, do you hear this?
Yeah, what is that?
I have no idea. Some sort of construction randomly outside just started. But think on that for a minute, kids.
Yeah.
Just take a moment, take a breath, and just imagine what that would look like. Resonating from pure love all the time.
Okay, speaking of fear, this probed a thought of mine because I
probed. What a great word. Dirty.
Yeah, there we go.
12. It's okay.
I love it. I was watching Divergent the other day, and I read the books a long time ago. And our teen dystopia books with strong female leads, my favorite kind. Yes. So Hunger Games, Divergent, bring it on. All about that. But anyways, Divergent, that one's all like the mainly book is about like fearscapes and like what are like overcoming your fears.
Yeah.
And it's like, I just am so fascinated now. Like, what would yours be? What are you like actually afraid of?
Me?
Yeah.
God. I'm scared of heights.
Mm-hmm. It's a good one.
Which ultimately means I'm scared of death.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Because, well, it's not even that. I'm scared of like, I don't actually, if I fell and I'm like, oh my God, it'd be scary going down. But if I knew I was dying at the end, fuck, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
It's the, what if I don't die?
Oh, yeah.
It's more of that. And it's not even heights, I guess. It's falling from heights, if we're being specific.
I feel like being up high just makes your body just feels weird and light. And I don't even like the feeling of being up high.
My stomach goes weird.
Yeah.
I'm like, and then my other, for whatever reason, my other fear is fish.
Oh, yeah. Fucking fish. Oh, that's good.
Maybe I was swallowed by a whale in past life or something. I don't know.
Crazy. You could be, yeah.
No, because I'm not scared of whales. I'm scared of fucking fish.
Yeah, it's so weird. I was at the beach the other day with my sister, and it was in like Regina, and there were just these giant honking fish like jumping all over. And
I would lose my fucking mind.
And I was like, I don't really want to go in the water. I went in a little bit, but I was like, fish, stay away.
No, thanks. No. Nope.
Yeah, so that actually probes a fear of mine that I didn't realize I had, but it would be like stranded in the ocean alone, and like all the living things under there that you couldn't see. Oh my
God, yeah.
You know, we panic. There you go. It's not even like sharks. It's the unknown of what the fuck is beneath you or around you or what's coming at you. Ugh. That would be terrible.
I have a fear of, I think I've talked about this on a podcast before, a fear of large ships.
So funny. I wonder, you probably died on the Titanic.
I probably did, and then I was probably laying in the fucking ocean waiting to be rescued, and a fish ate me.
Oh, gross. Could you imagine? Probably.
Well, if you're floating long enough, they'll chew your toes and shit. Ew! Oh my God, gross.
I can't. Definitely what happened to you.
No.
Yeah, stranded in the middle of the ocean would be one of mine. And then, Randy, you'll just love to dissect this, I'm sure.
Uh-oh.
It's not even like a real fear. It's like a mental fear. Like being, I don't even know how to describe it. It's not even being in jail, because at least you can have your mind, right? Like you can like read and like meditate or do whatever. It would be like being trapped like mentally and physically. Like if you were in a mental institution, and you couldn't leave, but they like medicated you.
Ooh.
And you tried to like scream and tell people, like, you know, and then I can see how I would look insane because I'd be like, no one's listening to me. Just let me tell you. Like, and then you just be more medicated and like restrained, and you just be like, why are you even alive?
Or I feel like that sometimes anyway.
Yeah, totally. Or another way I could see it, like that it's the same fear, but that's one way of manifesting it. Or being like a 1940, I don't even know, like 1930s housewife or something. It would be like, you know, the cat that like really just wants to be free, and then finally it like finds a way out of the house, and then you know the husband or like like whoever, oh, how'd you get out here, and just like plugs you down. Like you're not seen as like a person. No one's listening to you. You have these jobs you have to do, and you're just like screaming inside, and then you just like, oh, like, and you get treated like a cat, like you're trying to leave, and people are like, you better get back inside. And then where the fuck would you go? Like, or, you know, like screaming and no one could hear you, something like that. That would suck.
So it's like a fear of not being heard.
Yeah, or not being.
Yeah. What would the right word be?
One of it is like not being able to be myself, kind of thing.
Where yeah, but just, you like, do that to you.
Well, if you like when I'm in the mental institution and like medicated, where you're like just nothing, you know? What the fuck? Like, and or yeah, like I don't even know, not being. I don't even know if it's being heard, not being seen as like a person.
Not being believed, maybe.
Yeah, maybe. Well, that's part of my shadow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I feel that. The not being believed.
Yeah, not being believed or like acknowledged as like a human being kind of thing. But like, so it's like there's a difference between like jail or even like being a slave, let's say, would be really bad, but at least you have your mind. You know what I mean? Like you can still like talk to your friends, or you can like have a love affair, you know, or like choose to have children or whatever. But like in these stories, it's like they can't do anything. But yeah, not being believed is probably one of the things.
Yeah. I think that would be the underlier. Because I have that. Like the fear of not being believed. I have that now, for fuck's sakes.
Mm-hmm.
Or not saying things out of the fear of not being believed, maybe.
Yeah. And for some reason, it has to do with like close people, like people that I'm close to. Like people on the other end of this podcast, I'm like, well, I hope you guys obviously are here, so you must think it's all right. But like, if you guys were like, those two are full of fucking bullshit, I'd be like, oh, you know, like whatever. You're allowed to that opinion. But then
Appreciate
it was like
you.
Then if it was like your husband though, that was just like, shut the fuck up. That'd be like a whole different thing. Like, but I imagine it like old times.
Yeah.
Where you're not free. Like as if you're a woman in like the 1920s, I don't even know, 20 is like 1700 or something, 16, I don't know, 18. Late 1800s. I don't know what time period I'm talking
about. Even the early 200s. Even the early 1900s, you didn't really have any rights or anything.
Yeah.
Like when could women vote? It wasn't until like the 50s or something. 60s? No.
I want to say like 1916, but I feel like I'm making that up.
But we get what you're saying.
Yeah, anyway. Moral of the story. Those would be my fears probably. Which would ultimately, I feel we could boil it down to like being alone.
I was going to say, so what is, if we were to dig deep.
Which is the same problem. And it's like, I don't even know how to describe that feeling of not wanting to be alone. It doesn't really have anything to do with relationships. It's like, I think Robin Williams once said something. It's like, it's better to be like the worst. It's not like to be alone is one thing, but to feel alone in a room full of people is another kind of pain.
It's a bigger type of pain.
Yeah. So I think it's more that. It's not like I need a relationship because I like literally been in 2 relationships my whole life.
I think my question for you would be, why are you so scared to be by yourself?
I honestly have well, it's part of my energy, I think, is like, or not even alone. Depends what you mean. Because when I'm talking these stories, like I love being by myself, but I need to be able to like do stuff. Like I go to concerts by myself. I love going to eat lunch by myself.
No, but you're never by yourself though. You go out to places where other people are.
Well, I like being home alone too. It's actually one of my favorite things.
Take MJ out of the equation.
I don't know. I still like being home alone by myself. It's actually, it'd be nice if that option was there for more of my life. But
you complain about it a lot.
What do you mean?
You've told me you're like, oh, I gotta get out of this house. I've been here by myself all damn day.
Oh yeah. Well, I hate my house. But when I said my apartment,
cool.
It was a good time.
I understand. I too love being by myself.
I don't even know, what is it? It's like, if I could describe what it was, it's like, it's not even like necessarily connection or like, it's like I need some place to like put my passion. Does that make sense? So if you were just like at home and someone like owned you and like everything in that entire place was something you hated, that would kill me, right? Does that make more sense? It's hard to describe. I don't even know what I'm talking about, but
yeah.
Like imagine if you couldn't like go to a concert or like even, you know, if you had kids even in that life and that was all you did was like dote on them all day. Like you can't like be yourself. Does that make sense?
One could argue you could.
Maybe.
But that would be a good ego block, a good ego trap of you can't be yourself. You have to be this instead.
Yeah. I feel like, or yeah, people, I guess it goes back to the whole people telling me what to do.
Yeah.
There we go. It's come full circle.
Yeah.
But yeah, that would be one of my nightmares. But of course, if it was like a fear simulation, it'd be really extreme, right? Like no one could hear you.
Yeah.
Or something like that. And I can't remember, I haven't read the book. I read my sister's a while back. So I'm like, I ordered them. So I'm going to read the books.
Yeah. They're on my Kindle, I think. I'm going to have to reread them. I'm also going to finally read 1984.
Oh, I haven't read that either, but I really want to.
I think it's pretty fucking relevant right now, don't you? Ugh.
Yeah, like I was watching something and back in when that book kind of first came out, they were like, it was like a dystopian, futuristic, sad future. And then now when kids hear about it, they're like, that sounds like what's happening now.
Well, it's funny because
and it's more accepted because it's like really happening.
George Orwell, now where did I read this? Said it was a warning to humanity, but he couldn't sell it that way back then.
Whoa.
It would have been censored.
Right.
Right? So he had to sell it as a science fiction novel.
I honestly would argue that a lot of authors are actually like weird prophets that like write about true things. I wouldn't say everybody, but like the Hunger Games, that's relevant. Divergent, that's relevant. Like Lord of the Rings, like what the fuck is that? He like tapped into otherworldly places and like created, like not everybody, some of it's fiction, but some of those stories I'm like,
it's like, which planet were you tapping into with the Lord of the Rings?
I know, where do the hobbits really live? Where do what planets are the elves from? Like, you know, it's so much information on each world.
And like Saruman, the wise, ended up being evil. And it's like, interesting. You know?
Remember that time you told me I had a spirit guide that was like the Ents, the trees?
Oh, yeah.
Clearly they exist somewhere. Like, come on.
For sure.
This guy just was able to see other worlds and decided to write about them as fiction. Because he probably, like, maybe he thought it was fiction, but like, how do you even get something so vivid? He even had maps of these places. I'm like, and that fucking guy
created a language.
Yeah, I'm like, that fucking guy knew what he was doing.
Fucking rights, man.
You know, so sometimes I read books and I'm like, is this really fiction or
like, what? I know this is in the fiction section, but I'm going to go ahead and move that to the non.
Exactly, yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. But no, I never had to read 1984 in school or anything like that. And I'm like, kind of wish I had now.
I know, I need to read that one too. But I've spent so much time reading like research books. And now I'm like, well, 1984 would basically be a research book.
No, but nowadays,
too, yeah.
But Lord of the Flies, did you ever read that one? That is also very accurate for how like humanity attacks each other. God. Like, it was a group of like essentially kids, best friend, and like, what did they do? They gave into their humanness, and then they were left alone, and then they just killed each other.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not good. It's like a good book, but like not a good book.
I liked that book.
Yeah, it was.
It was very wordy though. Like the one thing I didn't like about it, the chapters were very descriptive of like the jungle around them. And I'm like, okay, can we get back to the story here? I know you're painting a picture, but I get it. I get it. It was a jungle. There was a green leaf. Noted.
Oh yeah. Humanity.
Interesting. But I mean, even then, like, think how long ago these books were written. And it had a good grasp on humanity when humanity wasn't nearly in the crisis it is now.
Yep.
It's fucked up, man.
It is. It's just like, when will we stop?
I don't know.
But I mean, to be like, we can't blame anybody but ourselves for half of the mess that we're in. But at the same time, there are a lot of things deliberately structured to make it difficult for us to remember our true essence.
Well, we're under spiritual warfare right now.
Oh, God, yeah.
You know what it reminds me of? And again, going back to books, this feels very Harry Potter-esque with like the good versus the dark magic.
Yep.
It feels very much like that, the light versus dark, and it's all going on kind of behind the scenes.
Yep.
You know?
I agree. And it is. And then half of the stuff I feel that's happening even in the front scene is like just to get you to like forget your power and forget what you are as a sovereign being and just fight each other and us versus them. And, you know, like.
But they're doing it through fear and labels.
Yes. And it's like, I'm sorry, but divide and conquer is a real thing. And if you're familiar with the Hunger Games, remember who the real enemy is, people. It's not your neighbor.
Nope.
We're all the same. We're all struggling to find our place. We're ingrained with fear and labels, and
we're all doing the same thing.
So to point fingers across the table and be like, no, it's you, we are completely missing the point. It's the fucking 5 people up at the top of the pyramid giving us guns and knives to fight each other.
Yeah. And boxes, if you want to do it that way. Exactly. Giving more and more boxes to keep you more and more separated, because who's more powerful? The group of everybody working together who realize we're all one being versus 5 people, or 5 people versus everyone on their own, basically, because there's so many.
Yeah, exactly.
Subcategories.
And I feel like the reason that they work so hard and spend millions and millions of dollars in advertising and media and acquiring YouTube and acquiring Instagram and crying all these things. Big tech, because they know they don't have any power, but we keep giving it to them. So they spend all of their time and focus trying to figure out how to pit us against one another, so that we never realize what we really need to be. And we
don't realize we're putting ourselves in the boxes ourselves.
Because it's been going on for so long.
Like, I remember it was like in high school, oh my God, you're not wearing Montetta. Oh my God, she's not wearing Guess jeans. Oh my God, what a loser. Something so simple as a clothing brand. They're both jeans. Who fucking cares? But it was a big deal. And that was just clothes. That they had nothing to do like with who we are as, you know, like on a deeper level. And now it's gotten that to that point. And it's just like, there's no way of ever coming whole because we've labeled ourselves out of that.
Exactly. And it's just, we're so, well, even going back to like, you know, a lot of people don't want to be alone and don't want to face themselves. Like, I even just think about like my groups of friends that did gossip and did point fingers and did do this before, you know, I kind of am where I am now, but they just couldn't assess their own life. They couldn't look at their own life. So they're just pointing fingers at everybody else to make themselves feel better. But why are you doing that either? It's because you have put yourself in a box or a label that to be successful or awesome, it looks this way. And because I don't truly have it, because the boxes are generally unattainable.
Yes. They're designed that way.
Yeah. I'm just going to look down and make myself feel better because at least I'm better than the people down there. Like, fuck, stop wasting your time.
Such a waste of time.
And I feel like people listening to this may not even be people doing that. But if you see someone doing that, well, call them out on it because enough's enough already.
Yeah.
We got to rally the troops and address the real issues.
Well, the people we're judging are just the same as us.
Oh, yeah.
You know? We're all the same shit.
Yep.
My favorite, you know what? I never used to really get the potency of united we stand, divided we fall. I never used to get that. And now I'm like, oh, I get why it was such a theme back in the day. But I don't even know, like, is that even still in the history books?
I doubt it.
Because, yeah, united we stand. It's a big thing. So next time you go, and I mean, thoughts cross your mind. And especially because we're so conditioned and we're so ingrained. We're not here to tell you you're bad people. That is not at all what we're doing. But we want to just bring awareness to. Pay attention to every time you label yourself. and how we're designed in society to label ourselves. Like, think about it. You go on a date. What do you do for a living? Why the fuck does that matter?
Exactly.
It's the first thing we ask, though.
Or even like how much we are judging other people. Like the other day, like again, like big time introvert right now. But I went out to the grocery store and there were these two ladies in front of me. It's always the grocery store with us.
I know, it's always when we're at the grocery store. So I was in the grocery store and fuck people.
Yeah, and there were these two ladies in front of me. And I don't know, one of them was like, it's like funny now, like my intuition is so much better than it used to be. And this one lady I could tell was just like looking for validation and like just uncomfortable, and like, and the other lady was just like also equally as insecure, but like more of like a hard ass. And they were just really slow and like pissing me off. I was like, fuck, can you guys hurry up? Like, I don't care about your life problems right now.
Yeah.
But anyway, it's just like, I that was me judging them, right?
Yeah.
I wonder what they do for a living. I wonder why they're like this. I mean, I guess I was more just assessing, but like I was definitely like, wonder where they work. Like, what does that matter?
Yeah.
Why do you care? Like, just let people be. I feel like I was just bored, trying to wait for my turn to pay for my groceries.
Yeah. Keith always gets mad at me for going through the self-checkout. He's like, that took a job away from somebody. If I'm coming here, they're going to put, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, yeah, but you know what? It's quicker than dealing with other people. So I'm just going to go ahead and do that, But then part of me is like, you're a machine and I hate you.
Totally.
I have such a love-hate relationship in those scenarios.
I flip back and forth. Sometimes I'll go to the people and sometimes I'm like, I just need a machine today to just fucking ring my groceries through. I can't do it.
It's like, I can't do the small chat today, so
no.
Guess I'll go over here. And I mean, that kind of ties into last week's What They Didn't Tell You About Awakening. And if you haven't listened to that, go ahead and do that. But interacting with the normies right now is very real and it's very hard.
It's super hard.
Yeah.
I'm just struggling. Like, I don't want to have this big of an aversion to people. I do want to like socialize, but I just find it very exhausting.
Yeah, it's very hard to connect because you're just like,
I'm actually curious, like, what do people talk about these days?
Nothing.
I'm like, what are some hot topics that I'm actually genuinely fascinated in and I want to talk about? Like, I don't know.
I'm like, let's talk about alien leaks and what came out there.
Yeah. If it's aliens, I'm always down.
But it's like, oh, okay. We can talk about your job again.
Yeah. Or even like, it's like sometimes I really like diving into really deep spiritual conversations.
Yes.
Which I still love. But then sometimes it's also very work-esque to me.
Mm-hmm.
And I just want to like bullshit about nothing. But then I'm like, but what though?
What's the point?
Exactly. So this goes back to my own company. Sometimes I'm like, oh, people are like, do you want to do this or do you want to do that? And I'm like, so yes, I do. I have a friend who has this brand new boat, but they have like a really big family. So there's just like a lot of people always on this boat. And I was like, you know what? I really do want to go boating with you. But all the people though.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm like, kind of just like, I want to be on a boat, but like.
I'm on a boat.
Yeah, but not with all these people.
Take a good hard look at the motherfucking boat. Yep. Who knows that song? Who sings it? Put it in the comments. Oh my God, I'm such a YouTuber. Put it in the comments. This doesn't have comments. I understand. I'm dumb.
It has comments if they're on Facebook or Instagram. I guess, yeah. Or if they're on Spotify, then no.
No, but I mean, like, although if you are listening to this on YouTube, put it in the comments. Oh, Lordy.
Yeah.
Anyway, we could probably keep talking about this.
I think the point is
over and over, but I think we've given you some things to think about.
Yeah.
And that's all we ask. Is just think about it.
Mm-hmm.
What story are you telling yourself to keep yourself in those boxes? Mm-hmm. Why is it so important for you to be in the box? Mm-hmm. What's in the box?
Exactly.
Who knows that movie? Come on. 7, Brad Pitt, anyone? It was his wife's head, in case you didn't see it.
I haven't seen that in forever.
Oh my God. Me neither. But that's like, you think 7 and all you think is, what's in the box?
Yeah, that's true.
You should almost call this What's in the Box.
Yes. I love it.
But I do want to take a very special moment right now. And I would like to give a huge new shout out To our brand new Patreon subscriber, Rachel.
What's up,
Woo!
girlfriend? Thanks for being here.
Thanks for joining the posse over there. Thanks for being a bitch. Maybe we should have our own theme song. Thank you for being a bitch.
Oh my god, that's our new intro instead of that like sassy piano number.
Just kidding. Just kidding.
Oh, I love it.
I'm such a Dorothy, and I'm okay with it.
Dorothy.
Yeah.
Oh, I love it.
Who would you be? Maybe this should be our bonus episode. Which golden girl are you? But who would you say you're most like?
Who's the real snotty, slutty one?
Blanche.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was going to be my guess for you too.
Unfortunately, yes.
I love it.
Oh, God.
Blanche Devereaux.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love it. Anyway, that was just a fun little side.
Just like, oh,
this
Lord.
is what our bonus episodes are like, okay? Where we just go back and forth and be goofy.
Yeah.
It's good times. Good times. Anyway, all right, we'll leave it here. Like we said, we've given you some stuff to think about. And we will talk to you in a week or so. Why or so? We're going to talk to you in a week.
Maybe you're going to listen to it in longer than a week, though.
Maybe. Or maybe, we'll talk to you tomorrow. I don't know what your schedule's like. Maybe you're going back and listening to them all. And if you're not, you should.
Exactly.
All right. Okay, bye, kidlets.
Bye.